Hello, fellow humans. Chris here again. I wanted to talk about my congressman, my representative from my hometown here in California, Congressman Tom McClintock. He gave a presentation to Congress last week in which he lambasted the COVID response, masks, social distancing, picked on Gavin Newsom for his hypocrisy, which, as I've mentioned in other videos, I agree with that. That was wrong for Gavin Newsom to do what he did. But as I've also said before, we have to look beyond our politicians for the examples that we want to set for society. We can't base our decisions on their actions. And the truth is the truth, regardless of the messenger, regardless of hypocrisy. So, aside from that, I just kind of wanted to address a couple points he made in his presentation because it really bothers me as we're approaching the holiday season, winter coming. Um, the cases are spiking. COVID is getting out of control. He mentioned the curfews that Gavin Newsom has imposed here in California, the 10 o'clock curfew to 6 a.m. the next day. And he brought up a very elementary, very just childish um, argument, which is COVID doesn't know how to tell time. So this idea that why would we expect COVID to only operate at nighttime? Of course, that's not what it's about. What it's about is curbing your chances for transmission. So, just like wearing a mask isn't 100% effective, having a curfew from 10 to 6 a.m. is not designed to eliminate the transmission of COVID, but it is designed to lessen that opportunity for happening. And it's just a simple numbers game. I take issue with people do this. Okay, regular people do this all the time, creating these sort of extremist arguments where, well, if it's not going to work 100% of the time, then why the hell bother doing it? We know that people do that, but when politicians do it, it really bothers me because it is so irresponsible. As a politician, as a representative of my hometown, I'm personally just ashamed and offended by the attempts by my political representatives to undermine the importance of responding to this pandemic, this global pandemic. The other thing he brought up was if these lockdowns are so important and so helpful, so working so well, why do we have to keep having them? Again, very elementary, very frankly stupid point. We have to keep having them because people aren't abiding by them, because we are letting our guard down as we have done previously. It's what we did in the summertime when we started reopening too early back then. The same thing happened. Now it's happening and it's even worse. And then he closed off by bringing up Sweden, and he brought up the economy. He brought up jobs. He brought up Anthony Fauci actually, his apparent flippancy towards the repercussions that the response, quarantining, again, social distancing, masks, the shutdown of the economy, what was that going to do to people's mental health, to just jobs, to securities, all this stuff? Okay, those things are important, and we're not trying to say that those things don't exist. That doesn't stop the pandemic from existing. It doesn't stop the hundreds of thousands of people, millions if you go worldwide, that have died because of this virus, and specifically here in America because of our president's failure to lead and to respond. There are other problems. Yes, there have been those problems for a while. Suicide, depression, veterans in particular, that's been a problem for a long time that we haven't really handled. So I find it kind of just frustrating that politicians will lean on these sorts of issues to try to justify their take on how we should be handling or not handling the response to this virus. I also found it interesting that he did bring up Sweden, because his point with Sweden was that Sweden has not been particularly hard in their response. They've been lax. They haven't been doing They haven't been doing any mandates. They've just been doing it for suggested guidance. And his point there seemed to be that they've done a whole lot better than we have by just letting people do what they think is best. He actually acknowledges that per capita they have about 150 less per million cases, and how it would equate to would be them having about 50,000 less deaths compared to us if they had the same population as us. And I did the numbers on that. He's right. It would be about 224,000 if we extrapolated our population to them. I could get into density, population density, how the mass flux of cases happening in big cities here in America, such as New York, for one, and Los Angeles, Chicago, places where people are highly congested in small areas. Okay, that's can account for a part of the difference right there. Aside from that, 224,000 is not a number to write home about. I find it pretty crazy that he would try to use that as an example for why a lack of a response would work or be a good thing, particularly when the fact that in just the last 2 days, Sweden has actually started implementing strict regulations because they finally acknowledged that they've screwed up, that they haven't handled the problem. Doing what McClintock says we should do has not helped. And the economy argument, according to the Washington Post, their unemployment rate has soared to 10% since the pandemic started over there in Sweden. So I just want to reiterate what I said before. Don't trust Gavin Newsom. Don't trust Tom McClintock. Don't trust the president. Trust science. Trust the medical workers that are working in the front line. Yes, trust Dr. Fauci, okay? I'm just going to say it. Trust the World Health Organization, CDC. It's not rocket science, folks. But I just don't use political hypocrisy as an excuse, and don't be lazy. This whole idea that, well, COVID doesn't have a sleeping time, why should to use that as like a reason for not responding at all? It's just insane, and I just really hope that people will take that to heart. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. I'll be talking to y'all again really soon. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and remember, don't be afraid to question the consensus.